Welcome to the Castoff. This is a show where two contestants compete by recasting your favorite actors in movies you love. I am your host, Craig Price, and tonight we are driving from Connecticut to LA, and we got two, if not three, of the best recasters we could find. From the big film show and the annual Who Needs Sleep, is it a telethon? Is it a marathon? I haven't quite figured out what the hell it is yet, but we have the wonderful Devin Pike.
It is a telethon, and thank you very much for not losing my number. My name is not Ricky.
And from everything I learned from movies and this week's current Matinee Heroes podcast discussing Beverly Hills Cop, we've got Steve and Izzy, or as I like to call them, Stizzy.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
How's it going?
All right. Well, let's start with Devin. We're going to talk to Devin a little bit. Devin, how's the big film show going?
Big film show's going great. We just did a post. So the Turner Classic Movies Film Festival did their second at-home version last week, and we did the closing night film Q&A with Ben Modell, who is a silent film score artist, and he goes around to various theaters and festivals and performs live scores for silent movies. It's his gag. And Turner Classic Movies asked him to do the score for So This Is Paris, gorgeous film from around the 1920s. And we had a great conversation for that. And that's what we do at the Big Film Show. It's various pieces of film that you knew you needed to watch or need to look at through different eyes. We talk about current film. We do a Friday wrap-up of the entertainment news and review. And it's all at bigfilmshow.com. And
last thing, you've got Who Needs Sleep, which is going to be in December. I'm sure you're going to be on several times before it comes on, but do you have anything secretly planned that you can tell us?
So it is a telethon, first off. It's definitely a marathon sprint, but it is a telethon. It's 36 hours raising funds for cancer-fighting organizations. And who can I... We've already lined up a couple of great guests. Debbie Gibson is going to be joining us for one of the segments.
No big deal.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Just Debbie Gibson.
I'm proud of that one. So I've spoken it into existence. Now her agent can't back out because it's on Matinee Heroes Castoff. Obviously it's now part of her permanent record.
Yeah, now she has to show up. Well,
right.
Debbie Gibson.
It's already on IMDb.
I'm so irritated between Devin and now we've got Steve and Izzy. Stizzy, you guys constantly rub the fact that, in my face, you rub in the fact that you get Dana Gould and Janet Varney all the time, who are two great and talented folks. So it seems like we were just talking like 2 weeks ago about ape movies on at the Utah Remote Con. What's happened since then?
I mean, honestly, we're still talking about Tarzan and Jungle Book movies over on Everything I Learned from Movies. And, of course, we got Podcart Fest coming up on July 10th with friend of the podcast, Dana Gould. Perhaps you've heard of him.
It's a celebration of podcasting and art. We have a bunch of amazing independent artists. We have a bunch of podcasters. Everybody actually has their own private chat room. You can go into and live chat with them over almost a Zoom type conference. You can shop their shops, you can shop their podcasts, and then there's an overall live stream where you can send us questions to ask Mr. Gould and whoever else decides to show up.
I'm your private podcaster, podcasting for money. Oh, yeah.
I'm leaving.
Yeah, I'm done. Well, enough with all the witty banter. Let's get on to the rules of the show. And they are fairly simple. I'll show you a character and the original actor, and you'll tell me who you're going to recast. Whoever gets the best point from the series of judges gets 1 point. I do have a secret selection, so if you happen to get that is a point. And don't be fooled, just because it's Craig's secret selection doesn't mean you're guaranteed a best choice, but let's be honest, my selections are always the best choice.
So it does mean that it is Charlize Theron.
Well, we'll have to see as we foreshadow what may or may not be happening. The person with the most points wins because this is America. This is not Europe and soccer and football and all that other stupid stuff. We like to guarantee a winner tonight. And if there is a tie, we will have a double feature to win, and if that does happen, I will talk about those rules when and if that is necessary. But before we go and start the show, always a reminder that Matinee Heroes sponsors the show, and we are wrapping up Epic 80s Month with Ghostbusters and San Francisco Chronicles Zaki Hassan, who's always a great guest. You can head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe. All right. Do I have to zap you? I know. I don't have the money to do the copyright. Stop singing.
You're giving me far too much credit for that.
You did this with Beverly Hills Cop too. I think I'm going to get nailed on that one. It's going to cost me a couple $1,000.
Just skip the middleman and pay Huey Lewis.
Yeah.
He's just doing Huey Lewis. He's not doing
Keep
Ghostbusters.
on busting. Da, 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 da. Keep on busting. That's totally the song I'm singing.
Well, you can go to matineeheroes.com/subscribe. And if you like this show, you can head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff, and you can find the various ways you can subscribe to the video feed. But also, new this season, on Thursdays, this will be posted as an audio-only version with the post-show exclusively on Matinee Heroes. All right. Well, as the theme song says, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So let's cannonball. This is a great movie if you have not seen it. The Cannonball Run was a real unsanctioned race from New York to LA, with the only rules being you can use any vehicle you want, you can use any route you want, and you can go any speed you feel is justified. And that's it. Whoever made it to there first, whoever got there in the shortest time won. And that's when we have the lovely and talented Burt Reynolds. The ambulance driven by Burt and it breaking down near the end, spoiler, is something that actually happened in real life, and they used it into the movie. Now, let's delve into the star-studded affair. We're going to start with our lovely and talented Burt Reynolds as J.J. McClure, who is he was the biggest star on the planet in 1981. So we're going to start with Devin. Devin, you have the biggest name in movies, with a star-studded cast of people that you wouldn't even be afford to bring on your show unless they knew Burt Reynolds. And this is a great excuse to make movies. Who do you have playing J.J. McClure?
Let me first open by saying, and this is not me filibustering, but on one of my birthday parties, it was 5 or 6 years ago, we sat around on a rooftop on an Alamo Drafthouse location in Dallas. It was me and about 5 other people. We were all film critics and writers, and we did a full recast of Cannonball Run. I am not using any of those picks because I feel it would spoil the occasion. So, because in that recast, I'll go ahead and say it because it's not my pick. We had Ryan Reynolds frontlining it. This was before Deadpool 2. It was before Hitman's Bodyguard, and he would have been the perfect cast for it at that point. I think now I wanted to go with somebody who's on the cusp of superstardom that would just like drive the point home, and from then forward, that man would own Hollywood for a good 10 or 12 years. You frontline this cast, you've got the charm, you've got the sex appeal. I went with Supernatural's own Texan Jensen Ackles.
Now, before I get into his accolades, I will warn you that don't do what Alan does on every single episode of the show. And when he gives his recasting, he also gives 5 different other choices he would have had and ruins it for everybody else. So, because I don't want you to accidentally go, well, I think this person would be great, but I picked this one instead. And then I go, well, that's why Steve picked him.
Right.
But yes, he's known for being on Supernatural. He's really a TV guy. The big thing that we need to know is that he's going to be on The Boys in the next season. And he's also going to be the voice of Batman in the animated The Long Halloween. So that ought to be... Because I looked at his credits and I'm like, I had to go to Dark Angel and Dawson's Creek? Come on. Because he's been doing Supernatural for the last 15 years, so he's been busy.
Yeah, I mean, after you do 47 seasons of a TV show, there's not a lot of time to do anything else. So
Not at all. So, Stizzy, you got Supernatural. Who do you got replacing Burt Reynolds to be the charming lead? Because that's one of the things that you'll see as we move along is that we get from specific characters, Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, into more generic, this is the suave drunk, this is going to be the sexy lady. So who do you have playing our lead character?
Well, I guess like you mentioned, the most charming, most charismatic, biggest superstar in all the world. We went with the star of Faster, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He already has experience in movies where he's driving a vehicle of some sort, and he's in everything that makes $1 billion nowadays. So
yeah, that's how you save a franchise.
Yeah, he's a franchise savior. I wanted to find the most Burt Reynolds-esque picture I could find of him, because you posted one when you did this, and I couldn't find it. The one you gave me was too so
I could probably pull it up.
Yeah, that's okay. It's no big deal. But yeah, Dwayne Johnson is fantastic. I knew he was going to be a super mega hit, not from the Scorpion King and all the other stuff, but when I saw him in Be Cool and wear those pants and dance, I thought this guy just might be something, and he has. So we've got Jensen Ackles, Dwayne Johnson. I picked Bill Murray. I'm talking Stripes, Ghostbusters, Bill Murray, because you do need someone who's charismatic, quippy, and funny. Now, you throw in Burt Reynolds, who's extra handsome. I love Bill Murray, but extra handsome has never been called that. The judges conferred, and
mustache would work.
He didn't have to have a mustache. I don't think that's in the plot. Is there a plot?
That's a major plot point.
Well, we went with Dwayne Johnson,
the character,
and Steve and Izzy have their first point.
Woo! We're on the board, baby.
It's kind of hard to go against Dwayne in anything. So I mean,
Well, next is the lovable sidekick, Vince Prinzi, played by Dom DeLuise, who also has a secret superhero identity known as Dun 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 Captain Chaos. Love Captain Chaos. I love Dom DeLuise. This character is so sweet and so nice, and Burt Reynolds is so mean to him in all of his movies. It's just he's just so adorable that he puts up with the crap that he does. So, Stizzy, who do you have playing the wonderful and supremely talented and funny man, Dom DeLuise's Captain Chaos?
Well, we decided to go with somebody who isn't going to upstage The Rock, but can also be like fun and quippy, like he is in the movie Death Race. We're going with Tyrese.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. So Tyrese Gibson, known for awful franchises like the Fast and Furious movies and the Transformer movies. I will say that I think I may be the only person in America that owns a Black Nativity puffy winter jacket that can be in Sub-Zero. I won it at a contest, and I was like, Black Nativity? What is that about? It's in the title. But yeah, Tyrese Gibson, mostly just the sidekick. So we will now go with Devin. Devin, who do you have playing the cool or funny, or actually, in this case, abused sidekick?
I went with somebody who we would not feel bad when this person gets completely abused by J.J. McClure's Jensen Ackles. Bear in mind, this is not going to be Dwayne Johnson, because Dwayne's not going to be available for this shoot. He would ask too much money, and you have to pay for the Ferrari. So I went with somebody who has comedic chops, but has only been able to use them sparingly. And I wanted to see him in the Captain Chaos outfit. I give you Nathan Fillion.
Ooh,
he is. I was very nice because I call him TV's Han Solo. I was going to call.
So true.
I was going to call him a poor man's Han Solo, but I felt no, that's too cruel. He is a budget Han Solo on a budget, is what he is.
He's Canadian Han Solo.
Okay. He was obviously in Firefly, which kind of made his career. He's in The Castle and The Rookie, the TV shows. But he was also the first Private Ryan in Saving Private Ryan, and he will be the character like is able to throw his limbs at people in the Suicide Squad. So it's all weird there. But Nathan Fillion is a funny guy, can do funny stuff. Sidekick, it might be something new for him, so that'd be good. Let's try that out. So, Tyrese Gibson, Nathan Fillion. I went with Will Forte because he's just stupid, great, crazy, goofy, and I like hearing him on The Great North. He's got such his voices are so great.
Even a bear. Wow.
The judges conferred, and you got to go with Nathan Fillion in this. Tyrese Gibson's lucky to get a job, never mind more than one. So
Agreed. Nathan Fillion's a great pick. I'll go with it.
So we're tied 1-1. And now we get to Roger Moore. Roger Moore making fun of his James Bond persona as bored rich boy Seymour Goldfarb Jr. I just love the name. He got in a little bit of trouble with the Broccoli family for doing this. In fact, Hal Needham met with the Broccoli's a little later on, and he was like, I'd like to be your director. And he's like, well, we'd like to sue you for Cannonball Run. So, because basically they just, and I think it was put in his contract after that, he could not do any more of these little funny tidbit things. So we'll start with
The Quest.
Yeah, what? We'll start with Devin. Devin, who do you have as the? Now, in this case, who is the movie star? You don't have to have a James Bond, but who is the movie star?
And of course, not to who's the gent who always gives away all the other picks?
That's Alan.
You don't want me to be.
Alan.
I'm not going to Alan Cerny this up, but I will say that I did go through the living and still acting Bonds before I fell upon this pick, because I looked at him and I said, he is really funny, and I would love to see him in just an over-the-top comedic role. Bring me the head of Mads Mikkelsen. Now, people don't know that Mads Mikkelsen's actually extremely funny and does a lot of comedies and before he was the tough guy. He could easily do the funny stuff because that's where he's from. He's from the comedy world, who just happened to be a bad guy because he's got an accent in America. But he is the Danish gift from above. Loved him in Hannibal. He was sweet and wonderful as a dad in Rogue One. Another bad guy in Casino Royale and Doctor Strange. And then I just put this here. This is not one movie, but within 6 months of each other, he came out with a movie called Polar and Arctic. And neither one of them are similar. They're polar opposites about how the quality. But Mads Mikkelsen, that's a tough one. You can't go wrong with him. So Stizzy. And you should have actually put Another Round, by the way.
Well, that's the brand new one. That's where he's living life completely drunk. That's perfect. A segue to Steve and Izzy.
Just like us, yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, Craig, there was only one person I could think of to be, from movies like Death Race and or The Transporter. Obviously, Jason Statham would make a great Seymour Goldfarb Jr.
So what was the accent you were doing?
What accent?
That's a very good JFK. But yes, now, as I call him a human toe, but as much of a human toe as he is, Jason Statham is actually an action sequel machine because he's in all the Fast and Furious movies. He's in all the Teleporter movies. He's in all
Transporter.
Transporter.
Oh, the Teleporter. That's right, Transporter, not Teleporter. That shows you. He's in all the Crank movies. He's in all the Expendable movies. If you want someone who's going to be cheap and come back again and again and again, it's Jason Statham.
He's in the sequel to The Mechanic Resurrection.
Well, we've got Mads Mikkelsen.
Was an Olympic swimmer.
Well, Mads Mikkelsen was a ballet dancer.
He was also a gay model for hire in music videos. Do a search for Jason Statham Shaman coming on for the most glorious Speedo dancing you will see on YouTube this week.
Oh, wow. Wow. Breaking news. Steve has something to do later on after the show.
Yeah. Boom.
So
that guy looks just like me.
We got Mads Mikkelsen. We got Jason Statham. I went with Henry Cavill because you want someone who is absolutely gorgeous but could be James Bond and can make fun of himself. And the judges came in and said, you can't ever deny Mads Mikkelsen. He's good for everything. Good, bad, indifferent. Well, then we get to the loveliest of lovelies. If it's the late 70s, early 80s, the mythical Farrah Fawcett is in this movie, and she is just absolutely gorgeous. They even call her Beauty for short because she's just amazing. And being the 80s, of course, she's kidnapped against her will for most of the movie. So this is
why is she cold in that shot? She really needs to put another sweater on. That she's very cold.
Yeah.
This is the only one I could find. This is the problem with doing movies from the 80s. There's not a lot of big, high-quality publicity stills I can put on.
Why did you not look at the poster that was on every boy's wall, including my own?
I have to get the picture of her in the movie. This is her in the movie as environmental photographer Pamela Glover. So,
Obviously.
we're going to go with Steve. Steve, who could possibly replace Farrah Fawcett?
I'm going to defer to Izzy.
Well, I mean, if it's a character who's actually going by the name Beauty, we really can only choose one actress, and her name is Charlize Theron.
Playing to my heartstrings, known for being almost perfect. Of course, she is in Mad Max Fury Road. She's a bombshell in Bombshell. I think the biggest thing with her is she said that no one asks her out, and I'm like, what? She's so intimidating that nobody asks her out, and I'm like,
that's a
damn
lie.
it.
I asked her out on the set of Italian Job.
Yeah, and she said, no, thank you, sir. I saw you in the Speedo. But she's great in almost everything she does, and even in stuff that she's not great in, she's still great in. It's weird. So, Devin, who do you have trying to replace, I guess in this case, Charlize Theron? Good luck with that.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I hovered over Charlize Theron
We all
to
have.
do the pick.
Yeah, we all do.
And my restraining order doesn't allow me to actually pick her for this role. So instead, I went with someone who is walking perfection. She is fantastic. She is an amazing action star, along with a really solid actress. Bring me Margot Robbie.
She is a beauty. She's the current it girl, except she's actually talented. A lot of it girls are usually just pretty for a couple years and then they disappear. I think Margot is going to be around for a long, long time, and she is just very talented. I, Tonya, she's great. She's Harley Quinn. Hell, she was in the Big Short, where she was just in a tub to explain things to us. Which
I never learned more about economics than I did in the 2.5 minutes that she was displaying shorting stocks in the Big Short.
Yep, and of course she's not afraid to do also a situation like Monster, what ugly it up a little bit, and she was very effective in Mary Queen of Scots. So we've got Charlize Theron, Margot Robbie. I went with Margot Robbie, so Devin gets the Craig's pick point.
What?
But
What shenanigans? Just because she was in Legend of Tarzan, coming soon on everything I learned from movies. What's going on here?
the judges conferred, and I was overridden. Charlize Theron, of course, is going to get the point. So this is an instance where I was overruled, and the judges went with Charlize Theron, but Devin gets a point. Steve and Izzy gets a point, so it is now 3-2.
You took it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Well, now we move on to the teams. So instead of casting two people, which would be much more difficult because one might be great and the other one might be junk, we're casting one person to embody the archetype. And of course, if you have Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin playing priests and wearing rosary bleeds, you need to have someone be the suave drunk.
Is a rosary bleed a stigmata?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
These bleeds? Those bleeds. So I think we're starting off with Devin on this one. And Devin, who do you have playing the suave drunk?
Before I name this pick, I do want to lodge the complaint that I did name both Blake and Fenderbaum.
You did.
On this, and I thought that it was a brilliant pairing, but it's because I won't stir any of this up. I will tell you.
You can tell us after.
Okay. I went with Bruce Campbell because you cannot get anybody who is a better aged drunk than the Big Chin. He is still insanely funny, massively talented, and I think he would chew up so much scenery in this role.
Yeah, because Oscar nominations are not coming out for Sammy and Dean. Those guys, I think, were paid in alcohol. I don't even think they got a salary. They just said, hey, do you want to drive a nice car and have some drinks at night and hang out with Burt? And so, thus, a whole industry of cameo movies was born.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, Izzy, who do you have to compete with Bruce Campbell? I think you guys like Bruce Campbell just as much as everybody else does. So
for us, for this one,
I like how you had to sit there and negotiate with each other. Who's going? Well,
it's like, who wants to go first? No. We went with another person who's known for drinking and driving in the same movie, from Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. No, not Nicolas Cage. Idris Elba.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Like I said, I'm sensing a Fast and Furious pattern, but of course, Black Superman.
I have no idea what you're referring to.
Yeah. We have him in Avengers movies. We have him in Star Trek movies. We have him in Fast and Furious movies. We've even got him in DC comic movies. And just to show that he is infallible, he is in Cats, Release the Butthole Cut.
He's basically naked.
He's basically naked. I'm just making sure that Idris Elbow didn't show up in his spandex. All right. So we have Bruce Campbell as the suave drunk, or do we have Idris Elba as the suave drunk? I went with Vince Vaughn as the suave, a younger Vince Vaughn. I think he's getting a little. Now he's looking like a soccer dad that you want to keep away from the kids, especially the nannies.
He's looking like he's going back to old Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
because he was chubby Vince Vaughn. Then he got fit Vince Vaughn. So he's back to chubby.
He's back to chubby with wrinkles. So it's weathered chubby, which is never a good look.
He wouldn't even been cast in the film. He would have just wandered on set. It's like, here's a car.
Yep. Well, the judges conferred, and you got to go with the chin. Devin up 4-2. But there's still potentially 4 points on the board, and there's at least 2 points on the board that could possibly tie it all up. So we continue on with, the lovely and talented Adrienne Barbeau and her co-pilot, who has no name, who used their zippers and spandex suits to quite the effect in this movie. I've never seen so many women get out of cars, out of tickets before, but I guess that's how it works. I have bigger boobs than Adrienne Barbeau, but I'm not getting out any tickets. Anyways, Steve, who do you have as the embodiment of the sexy lady driver?
Who is he?
Oh, well, we need somebody who is a goddess, an actual goddess. So we're going with our favorite actual goddess, Wonder Woman herself, Gal Gadot.
Absolutely. She is a wonder of a woman who is also in the Fast and Furious movies, and I didn't realize she was in it from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
She was...
What?
Because I was looking at her IMDb page, and I'm like, I knew she was in one of them, but no, she's in like 5 of them.
She started in number 4.
No, she's in the first one. She was she's got like a little small part before she was anything in the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she's in the Fast and Furious movies. Obviously, she's the Wonder Woman movies, and then the rest of the movies she hasn't really broken out yet with Date Night, Night and Day. She and John Hamm were keeping up with the Joneses, and it wasn't that hard because nobody went to go see it. So
I did. It was all right.
I saw it too. We saw it.
Steve, how many copies of Night and Day do you own?
Silence.
Like 7.
So Devin,
tolerate your insolence.
Who do you have to go up against the lovely and talented Gal Gadot?
So I wanted to find the model of the moment. I wanted to find somebody who is just insanely hot and doing amazing work in the process. She's not been in a lot of acting roles, but I want to see her do some acting in the future. I went with the glorious Ashley Graham.
Now, I have never heard of her before, and she's from Lincoln, Nebraska, which is why I said she's the Midwestern model. She's been on America's Top Model, and she was the host of American Beauty Star. But of course, as a model, she's really no acting. But she's been in Vogue, she's been in YM, she's been in Sports Illustrated. So she's got the model credentials. And let's be honest, does she really need to act in this movie for this part? No. So you want someone who can say some words, look gorgeous, and Ashley Graham, after seeing the picture, because I've never heard of her, fits the bill.
And also a plus-size model as well. So she's representing for everybody who is not a stick figure. So I love Ashley. I love everything she's done.
Well, we've got Gal Gadot, Ashley Graham. I went with Selma Hayek because I saw her in that Bosses movie, and they overdid her boobs a little bit in that one on purpose, and her teeth. I thought she'd be perfect for it. The judges conferred, and of course you got to go with Gal Gadot. She's just amazing. And she used to be an Israeli fighter who taught weapons training. So she could literally kick your butt or shoot you from a distance. She's that talented.
Yeah.
Well, now we are down the home stretch, and I went with what I call the international star. In this case, it's Jackie Chan in only his second U.S. role, but really his biggest one, where he plays, both of them play the Japanese, despite the fact they're both Chinese. Toyota driving, despite the fact the credits say Mitsubishi. So they didn't really care. They just wanted someone who could fight. And Jackie Chan fits the bill. Look how different he looks. Look how young. And this is before he broke every bone in his head.
He looks like 5 years younger than he does today.
I know. He still looks great. I mean, even with all the broken bones, he still looks good. I think it's all
The Foreigner, everybody. The Foreigner is amazing.
You know who's also good? Not only he's great in it, but even Pierce Brosnan looks great with that beard. Oh, God.
Right?
I know.
Oh, man. That's a DILF right there.
Well, he's a GDILF right now.
Vibe.
Yeah.
Definite daddy vibe.
GD. He's a granddaddy now. He's 70. All right. So we went with international stars, and so this is going to be an interesting one because Devin, who did you pick for this particular one?
All right, so follow my logic on this because I dig this actor. I think he is astonishingly talented, and he's only going to get better as time goes by. I went with the Cannonball Run 2 archetype of the child genius who's actually the one responsible for making the team successful. So bring me from Minari, Alan S. Kim as the foreign kid. And as a bonus stunt cast, his actual driver is Jackie Chan.
Okay. All right. So yeah, he's the kid in Minari, and that's it. I mean, he hasn't done anything else. He's as cute as a button. Look at that face and the little tuxedo. We're getting ready to go to Oscar night. And I actually like the concept of having the little child genius. I want him to drive the car. I want him to make a car that he fits everything so he can drive it himself. I would appreciate that more.
Sure.
So now you have Alan S. Kim, which sounds like two guys. So, Steve, Izzy, who do you have playing the international star?
Obviously, one of the biggest international stars in all of the world. From Thailand, we have Tony Jaa riding an elephant in this race, possibly. Who knows?
The protector himself.
So again, you had to find the only guy you could think of for the last one for the Furious 7 because he's only been in one.
These Fast and Furious movies you speak of, I'm gonna have to check them out one day.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll dedicate a month to it on the podcast.
Maybe.
You know what? I was gonna do the Fast and Furious, but then they changed the date until the 25th, and so no, and plus it would give you an advantage, Steve. So I didn't want to do that. So we've got Alan S. Kim, Tony Jaa. I went with Iko Uwais, who is from the Raids.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The judges conferred, and we have a tie. We are going into overtime.
Overtime, baby!
Please don't swear on the podcast. This is YouTube. I don't need to get a tag.
Fine.
That's all right. Thank you. If this was Matinee Heroes, you could swear all you want. But anyways, before we get into our tiebreaker, I want to remind everybody that Castoff has been nominated for a Quite the Thing Media Special Interest in Other Podcast Award, as well as Matinee Heroes for a Film and TV Podcast nomination. So go to bit.ly/QTT voting, and please vote for Matinee Heroes in the Film and TV category, and please vote for the Castoff and other special interest podcasts, because believe me, this show is interesting, and it's certainly special. Just not in the ways that I thought it would be. So now, we have some tiebreaker rules, and we'll go over this together. I'm going to have Devin name a complimentary movie, and then I'm going to have Steve and Izzy name a complimentary movie. Then I'm going to go back to the first person, and they're going to have 60 seconds to tell me why they chose that particular movie, because I don't want to just rely on the title. Sometimes the explanation can sway someone. You think a movie's perfect, and then you think another movie's stupid and totally not the right choice. But that defense sways them. And as Steve and Izzy argue about who's going to do the defending and who's going to give the naming, I'm the one with the final decision. And I'll be honest with you, I absolutely hate ties because I can't blame anybody else. So if you don't like the voting, up until now, I had 2 other people, which we'll get to. But we'll start with Devin. Devin, you're going to show Cannonball Run and what?
I'm glad you went to me first because there's no way that Stizzy does not have Smokey and the Bandit as the second film in their double feature. Smokey and the Bandit.
All right. Steve, Izzy, who's going to tell me the name of their movie?
I am, because we actually differed on this, and Steve defaulted to me. I feel like the perfect pairing for Cannonball Run is a movie of the same era, and we're going to go with Used Cars, starring Kurt Russell.
Oh, very nice, very nice. So let's go back to Devin. It's going to be a fairly easy explanation, but why Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Run?
3 reasons. First off, this, along with Cannonball Run, cements Burt Reynolds as the star of the decade, hands down. Number 2, vehicular carnage. So much vehicular carnage. It's amazing how many kit cars had to die in service of this movie. And number 3, if you have to look at the 70s in a time capsule, everything good and everything bad about the 70s, all wrapped up in those 2 nice little packages.
Well, I don't know what the bad stuff you're talking about is, because these are both amazing movies. But Steve, Izzy, who is going to defend Used Cars?
I will defend Used Cars. It's a movie not enough people have seen. It's absolutely spectacular. Young Kurt Russell, looking good Kurt Russell. He comes to work for a failing car dealership. The evil brother half brother of the owner is across the way with a massive car dealership. They have to try and save it. A bunch of nefarious schemes take place. They have to get a mile of cars because somebody edits their commercial wrong. It's absolutely fantastic. You're talking about car carnage. There's plenty of car carnage in this. There's an accidental death. There's some possibly murder. There's a lot of boobies, which is great. Makes it the adult feature at the end of this.
Well, she throws in the boobies at the end. Now I'm torn. But we have Smokey and the Bandit from Devin. We have Used Cars from Steve and Izzy. Both absolutely top-notch movies. I mean, they really are. I really love Smokey and the Bandit. We've done it here on the podcast. Used Cars is Kurt Russell at one of his finest roles, in his funniest roles, which we get to see tough man for the next couple decades with Kurt Russell, so we forget how funny he is, except in Big Trouble in Little China. So, as I think about this, as I dwell on this one, it really comes down to one thing, and one thing only. My dad. My dad absolutely loves Burt Reynolds. So much so that he would dress like Burt Reynolds for most of the 70s and 80s. And in fact, he looked like this for most of the 70s and 80s. When I saw my dad, he had a brown cowboy hat. He always had a red shirt and wore jeans.
He was 5 inches tall in plastic. That's amazing.
Yeah, my dad's about 5'5". Yeah,
looks like my dad, only about 6 feet shorter.
But
It's true.
Father's Day is coming up, and so Devin, you are today's winner. I had to give it to Devin because I'm sorry. It had to be. So you have the final thought?
I'm astonished you guys didn't pick that. I sincerely am. I thought I read your lips saying, you got to do Smokey and the Bandit.
I don't want to say it was too obvious, but
sometimes the obvious choice is the best one. So Devin, you have the final thought, so go ahead.
We are getting to a place now where moviegoing actually is a possibility again. You're starting to see people going into theaters. If you've been hesitant on getting vaccinated, let me give you some numbers. The current batch of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, the double shots, are 99+% effective against most of the variants that are out there. Not just the Americanized variant of COVID-19, but the other ones as well. Get your second jab. If you're on the fence, please get jabbed, because I miss movies in a theater the way that God and Hal Needham and John Ford meant them to be. Get your vaccinations, please. Don't be a selfish prick. Go get pricked yourself.
Do we call it a jab or a gab? Because I know there's a lot of GIF conversation that happens.
All right,
Anyone
settle
who
down
calls
now.
it
This is
anyone who calls it a gab is not to be trusted.
No.
It's compromat. That is
well.
not good.
Well, thank you, Devin Fauci. We really appreciate you talking about that today.
You're welcome.
And of course, that leads into next week. Next week, Gaggles of Geeks is here on the show. We got Patrick Beatty and his co-host, Chav Evans. Come on, move along. Chav Evans, as we recast the day after Memorial Day, so we have to do Saving Private Ryan. That one's going to be difficult because it's not just a bunch of young kids. There's a couple of older folks in there that we're going to recast as well. But if you like the show, you can always follow us on Twitter at The Castoff Show, which is a new Twitter handle. We have the Matinee Heroes Facebook group. Please go to matineeheroes.com/Castoff, and you can find all of the video links as well as links to twitch.tv/matineeheroes. Hey, you want to be on the show? It's that easy. Almost, you saw the kind of people we bring on the show. It's not that hard. So,
Hey.
I'm sorry. Can they hear me? I thought I muted them. Damn. It's go to matineeheroes.
You can be better than them.
Yeah, no, you guys are fantastic. You guys tied. It's great. matineeheroes.com/Castoff/application. We are looking for folks for July and August, and we'd like to have some new blood because these old fogies, we see them all the time. Steve and Izzy, you're practically neighbors now. We see you so much. I think you're in my will. And Devin, you know you've been in my will for a while, ever since that event that shall not be named.
Yep. We don't talk about that.
That's right.
Don't talk about that. It's part of the agreement.
Yep. You can. It's the we call it the Voldemort. Anyways, you can go to
Cincinnati.
Yeah. You can email me at mhcastoff@gmail.com. And special thanks to our judges, past 2 weeks winners, Jake Dietz and Tracy Mangum from Movies That Make Us. We really appreciate it. Obviously, they think too much alike because it split the difference. And on behalf of our winner tonight, Devin Pike, and of course, Steve Kondrick, Izzy Fisher. I always want to call you Fleischer, but it's Izzy Fisher. My name is Craig Price. Thank you for watching.
Maroon my ass. That MF is red.